To who it may concern. Do not fret, my compatriot, for I have gotten your letter. Unfortunately, I was unable to get your name, but I suppose keeping your identity under wraps is of immeasurable importance in this city. Those common folk and self-righteous angels simply fear what they do not understand. On some level, I must pity someone who cannot see the science and innovation minds like us put into creating what many dismiss as abominations. I have also written letters concerning the other races on Innistrad for research purposes, such as spirits. But let's get back to the matter at hand. I have gotten your message. As a novice stitcher, ghoul-caller, and planeswalker, you seek my guidance in how to create better, more efficient zombies for a fellow planeswalker. And I must say, it is quite impressive that you are proficient in both forms of zombie creation. Now, I am no ghoul-caller, I must admit, but I have done my research on this subject, and I am proficient enough at stitching. Sorry for all the ramblings, it's just that seeing someone who wants to become a stitcher such as myself, legendary Geralf or Ludwig, is exciting. That's not to say that I consider myself as even close to being as genius as they are, but I hope one day that I may one day be. Hopefully with my lessons, you can be too. Well, hopefully you've had your lab set up by the time you're reading this, and if you don't worry, you may just finish reading this once you have. This letter will be the first of many, and will focus on one of the most important aspects of being a stitcher or ghoul-caller on Innistrad. That aspect, of course, being the zombies themselves. And in this letter, I will be discussing the connection to blue and black mana, along with what this connection can tell us about them. So, let's dive in. Zombies on Innistrad come in two main varieties. There are the zombies aligned with blue mana and the zombies aligned with black mana. And of course, by proxy, there are those who are aligned with both. Let's look at the philosophical alignments and connections that these zombies have with these colors, starting with the blue aligned zombies. The blue aligned zombies of Innistrad are called scabs and are artificially created by people known as stitchers or scab barons, such as you or I. For the sake of this letter, I will be referring to the people of this craft as stitchers. Similar to scabs, stitchers usually have blue in their color alignment. Unlike ghoul-callers, stitchers create zombies by combining various, usually human, body parts together via necroalchemy, which is more of a scientific art than the necromancy ghoul-callers use. As pointed out by the mysterious planeswalker by the name of Gavin Verhey in his document titled Something You're Afraid of, scabs as a whole have some sort of thematic connection to, and many parallels to, a famous monster that planeswalkers such as you or I call Frankenstein. Well, technically, the monster isn't named, and Frankenstein isn't also the name of the doctor that created him. But most people refer to the monster as Frankenstein, so I'll just refer to him as Frankenstein's monster to keep things simple and avoid confusion. This, of course, adds to the gothic horror atmosphere that I'm sure you're already well acquainted with. Now, of course, comes the inevitable question: why are some of the zombies mono blue aligned? Well, I believe this mostly comes from their artificial nature. You see, blue is a color that has a heavy connection to technology and artificiality. Blue likes knowledge and wants to use that knowledge to improve things. Due to its want to improve things, it often jumps at the opportunity to embrace new, efficient, and productive forms of technology. Blue is also a color that, while it likes to study and appreciate nature, it does not bind itself to the idea of what is and isn't natural. Who cares if humans aren't supposed to fly when you can invent a plane or jetpack to allow them to do so? If something like, say, glasses lets you see better, why not? Why would you halt progress like that just because wearing glasses or using jetpacks is unnatural or not? On Innistrad, this seems to manifest as the stitching of bodies and corpses together into new entities and devices that can do all sorts of things that a normal person could not do by default. You could, for example, create a flying zombie, a zombie to assist you in lab work, a zombie that's super strong, a zombie to defend you, so on and so forth. The use of dead bodies, or what lay people may refer to as a desecration of dead bodies, probably ties into blue not caring about the natural course in which things are supposed to progress, and how blue may not always have as strong of an objective moral center as its ally white does. Blue tends to be more questioning of why certain restrictions exist, and it tends to be more by the numbers and logic driven, rather than morally driven. There is also the true ultimate goal of Stitchers, which is to create true life. Unfortunately, this goal is, quote, an undertaking which usually produces malformed offspring rather than true life, unquote. This ties into the parallels many scabs have with the monsters, such as Frankenstein's monster, but it also connects to Blue's philosophy of trying to achieve perfection, knowledge. As mentioned in a previous letter, it is not literal perfection, but rather trying to be the best one can be. Now, in the original story of Frankenstein, the titular Dr. Victor Frankenstein was a scientist who created the monster in order to discover the secrets of life and death, learn how to renew life, and create new species. However, he ended up messing up in his goals. He created what he deemed a monster. This disregard of the natural order and emphasis on research and invention can be considered very blue. The fact that Stitchers are constantly trying to create new life ties into Blue's theme's perfection, as what they are basically doing is trying to reach a goal and create the best scab possible. One that isn't just a zombie, but a true living being, which does, in fact, connect to Dr. Frankenstein's attempt to create and unravel life and its secrets. It should also be noted that scabs tend to take time and care to create, and we are aware that many Stitchers put great effort into making the best scabs possible. This sort of patience in taking time to know, understand, and perfect something aligns with Blue really well with Blue philosophy. We also know that one of the final steps of creating a scab involves re-educating it while it is in a calm tabula rasa state. This is something that connects it to Blue's themes of education, knowledge, learning, and possibly manipulation. There is also the fact that Blue believes everyone starts off as a blank slate, with the potential to become anything, which could be likened to how scabs can be built with any parts you desire for any sort of purpose, and how you can educate and teach them whatever it is you need them to know. Now we shamble onwards towards the Black Alliance zombies. The Black Alliance zombies on Innistrad are usually created by ghoul callers as opposed to Stitchers. Ghoul callers use necromancy to create zombies, or as the populace often calls them, ghouls. And unlike Stitchers, these zombies tend to be created more immediately via raising the zombies out of whatever ended up acting as their grave. They also resemble the more classical view of the rotting single-minded shambling corpse we all know and love from many other planes and forms of media. Understanding why ghouls and ghoul callers on Innistrad are usually of the black alignment is relatively intuitive because of the fact that black has basically always been associated with zombies and the undead throughout Magic history. The reason for this is because black doesn't believe in any sort of objective morality and is willing to use all the tools at its disposal to succeed and win. Thus, it is a color that is extremely likely to utilize things like necromancy and desecration of graves or bodies for its own purposes. Colors like white and green may find the desecration of bodies like this horrific, unnatural, and immoral. But for black, ideas like this are ultimately made-up concepts. There is definitely a fear and repulsion aspect to ghouls and zombies. At the end of the day, a lot of zombies are disgusting, unhygienic, and rotting. Plus, zombies are traditionally very scary or horrific creatures. I say that both these things draw zombies even closer to black philosophy, due to the fact that in black's eyes, basically any line is worth crossing as long as it helps you win, and thus it is willing to take advantage of any weakness it may find in potential adversaries, backstabbing, scaring the opponent, threatening their loved ones, invoking phobias, etc. None of these, nothing is off the table. Thus, black is totally willing to use something like a disgusting, rotting, scary, and iconic monster that many may be unwilling to interact with due to all these factors. It could also potentially lower the morale or will to fight of certain adversaries. It's not to mention that there's also the psychological factor of you being forced to fight the decaying bodies of your friends, families, and neighbors. But there's not just the zombies themselves. Remember, the zombies are rotting corpses. Corpses can potentially spread, carry disease, which adds a biological warfare and corrupting tactic to using zombies. Things like horrifying diseases, or potentially doing things like poisoning water supplies or food with rotting corpses, could play into one's favor in a battle or siege of some sort. Black is also a color that is no stranger to utilizing disease and corruption in order to win. An interesting aspect of the Stitchers and Ghoul Callers is some of the ways they disagree and view each other. Many Stitchers see the resurrection techniques that Ghoul Callers use as crude, heretical, and something that provides unacceptable results. I think this highlights one of the disagreements Blue and Black as philosophies have. The thing about color philosophies is that all the colors have agreements and disagreements, and allied colors are no exception. I mean, if they had no disagreements, they would all just be the same color now. When it comes to blue and black, while blue may not be as morally minded as white, it does have things it would deem unnecessary or unhelpful. Black may do something like wipe out a town in order to get what it needs, and blue may see this as overkill or wasting what could be potentially valuable knowledge or resources in the future via the people, objects, or structures there. Black also tends to be more pragmatic and to the point than blue. Black is less likely to care about how things get done as long as they are done, while blue may get caught up in trying to understand something to the best of its ability. While both blue and black may have a shared thirst for knowledge that can often be extended to knowing things that some may consider forbidden, black is less likely to be concerned with something that isn't immediately useful for it now or in the near future. Meanwhile, blue likes to hang on to knowledge just in case it ever happens to become useful or important. It's not to mention that black is potentially willing to destroy something or to deprive enemies of its benefits, which blue may see as destroying something that could be used to improve things for people or create benefits for someone later. Black is also more power hungry than blue. The reason black creates knowledge is because it understands knowledge is a powerful tool. While blue understands knowledge can be powerful, it's more in it for the improvement of the world and people around it and the thrill of discovery, rather than just for power's sake. On the other hand, black sees blue as a color that can be a bit sidetracked by getting too caught up in how things are done rather than what needs to get done. Blue likes to keep its eyes on the prize. If learning how something is done is what it takes for black to get it, then that's what it will do. But if it's not necessary, then black usually won't want to waste time trying to figure out how something works. Blue can also be a bit slow to act because it likes to plan and be subtle, which can be disadvantageous because someone who is quick enough may be able to defeat blue before they finish thinking about what to do, or the time spent thinking may give the foe an upper hand. Black, on the other hand, is totally fine with destroying these threats quickly and without mercy or second thought. I think the disagreements I've highlighted here do a good job of showing why some of the conflicts between Stitchers and Ghoul Callers exist. First of all, the creation of scabs themselves is usually described as more of an art or science than ghoul calling. I think that aspect helps show some of the different priorities blue and black aligned people may have. Scab creation is all about improving, learning, experimenting, getting better and better at the craft, and trying to create new life, or something that can make life easier in the future. Ghoul creation has far fewer steps and is more straight to the point. In that respect, ghoul calling ties into black caring less about how things work outside of what it needs to know, and potentially even to its more pragmatic nature, since resurrecting zombies this way could allow one to react and dispatch threats in a much quicker manner, or create a quick makeshift group or army that attempts to overwhelm the opponent in numbers. It also allows you to basically immediately resurrect any enemies you kill, as more zombies for you to control in order to continuously add to your forces, and create a snowball-like effect. However, it can also show how blue has more long-term goals. We see in story articles such as The Dance of Undeath that while ghouls rot slower than just normal dead bodies, they still tend to rot over time, which means that you usually need more dead bodies or people to add to your ghoul armies. Scabs also need bodies or people to create them, but considering how many artificial processes are involved in making one, I wouldn't be surprised if they took longer to fall into decommission. We even see some scabs continue to carry out duties even after the Stitcher has died. Zombies, on the other hand, tend to just wander around, probably killing people if their necromancer leaves. Now, what are the agreements that blue and black have as color philosophies and mana sources? I mean, we do see some zombies and people who are blue and black, and there has to be a reason that zombies as a creature type are blue and black on this plane of Innistrad. One of the agreements that blue and black have that I think applies here is that they are both enemies of green. That is to say that while a color like blue cares about studying nature, ultimately both blue and black are not beholden to nature or the natural way. If they want something done, they don't care if it's natural or unnatural, as long as it's the best way to get the job done. Yes, blue is an ally to the morally righteous white, but it does want to know all it can. It is more likely to inherently question why various morals exist, or if they are even necessary. The knowledge of how to create a zombie ties into the sort of forbidden knowledge aspect that blue and black can have. A lot of zombies are created artificially, through things like necromancer, stitching, and the like, while naturally occurring zombies do occur on places like Amonkhet, or in other planes and media via viruses, environments, fungi, or what have you. The zombies on Innistrad are leaning towards zombies that are man-made. These zombies are created through dark magic or scientific means, rather than some sort of anomaly or natural occurrence, and this aspect of them is something that blue and black are likely to utilize. Now, onto the mechanic many zombies seem to have as of late, something that many planeswalkers have dubbed Decay. The Decay mechanic reads, decayed creatures can't block. When they attack, they are sacrificed at the end of combat, and for the most part, it's an ability that only appears on 2/2 black zombie tokens. Decay's flavor is that of a rotting zombie that's so far gone it falls apart as it's doing a job, and it can't block effectively. Mark Rosewater has also gone on record in the past in saying that black having the downside of being unable to block represents sometimes the selfishness of individual creatures and their unwillingness to sacrifice themselves in the name of someone else. But that's for another time. Decayed also ties into Black's themes of doing things at a price. A lot of Black's abilities come with or at a downside. Decayed also ties in with Black's themes of doing things at a price. A lot of Black's abilities come with or at a downside, which captures how Black is willing to sacrifice or do whatever is necessary to get an important job done. Decayed also helps create the feeling of a massive, overwhelming zombie horde outnumbering you and your forces in one massive army, or a countless endless assault of the dead that force you to constantly fight them off without cluttering up the board state with a bunch of permanent tokens or making things too unfair. The fact that they can't block also encourages one to be aggressive, which captures the feeling of a mindless zombie that is single-mindedly shambling towards its victim. Well, my new pupil, that is all for now. Hopefully you have received inspiration from my ramblings, and it will create a new beautiful scab creation for me to witness. I wonder if there's anyone else to look up to, or a zombie you strive to have your creations match. Do you have a favorite zombie stitcher and or gold call in Innistrad? I look forward to your reply. Best regards, you know who.